Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me today in this live webinar on natural treatments for gallbladder congestion and stones as per Ayurveda. So, gallbladder conditions are very common, we should say, and one of the most common forms of surgery in the United States. And of course, the gallbladder or the bile duct can both be clogged with stones and sludge. So today we're going to cover, the understanding of gallbladder conditions, blockage in this case, resulting in some inflammation and pain from the Ayurvedic perspective. We're going to talk about causes. We're going to talk about types of gallbladder stones, signs and symptoms, dietary guidelines, some home remedies, and of course, herbal treatments. So we'll start with causes from the Ayurvedic perspective. Is gallstones or congestion is a kapha condition. This is kapha by nature is heavy, dense, solid, liquid, oily, and cool by nature. So it's these qualities that contribute to gallbladder congestion. And in fact, the same qualities contribute to congestion anywhere in the body, including the lymphatic system, the circulatory system, cardiovascular system, also can be affected by this kapha nature, which is heavy, dense, thick, liquid, and oily by nature. And typical causes, of course, are saturated fats, fried foods, fast food, excess red meat. These are the most common causes. Of course, liver failure is another cause, and also, a poor diet, irregular eating habits, eating when you're not hungry, and of course, poor digestion, we call manda agni. In Ayurveda, this condition is called pitta shamari. So pitta is, represented in this case of the blood. Shamari means stone. So basically it means a type of bile stone in Ayurveda. So it's an ancient problem, nothing new. They've had this a long time ago. And it's aggravated by kapha, this heavy, dense quality, which I talk about. So kapha prakopa, the increase of the kapha qualities, which are result mostly of weak and poor digestion. And so, of course, this kapha, this thick, heavy, dense aspect of our system that can clog any circulatory or movement, even can block the pancreas, the colon, the same heavy, dense quality, kind of like cheese type of quality. This mixes, of course, with the blood. And, this is like, it becomes like a saturation of cholesterol. But of course, it's more than just cholesterol to create the bile. There's also the bilirubin, which is, the type of pigment that makes our blood red. So, usually we see high bilirubin levels when we have liver problems or even gallbladder problems. And there's two types, of course, of gallstones. Pigment gallstones, where bilirubin itself is the cause, and this is more common when there's liver failure, liver disease, and then cholesterol-based gallstones, which is mostly what we're going to be focusing on today. It's important to understand the nature of bile. Bile, of course, is extremely alkaline in nature, and we all know that an acidic body is more susceptible to inflammation, pain, and even cancer. And alkalining the body and having alkaline foods is proven to be very preventive in many health conditions, including helping in any inflammatory conditions and cancer as well. So bile is very alkaline in nature because stomach acids are very acidic and the bile is very alkaline, and these two are neutralizing each other. And it has a kind of a, bile is kind of a bitter taste. It's oily, liquid, slimy, and it's of course helping to not just digest fat and to emulsify and break fat down into fatty acids, but it's also, splitting the enzymes, helping the absorption of calcium, magnesium, and all your fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K. So, and of course, bile is also a mild laxative. So when you have low bile due to either poor liver function or congestion in the liver and the gallbladder, then it can lead to more constipation. And of course, this is the body's main way of getting rid of heavy metals, is through the liver detoxification and through the bile. And of course, the blood, the liver is filtering out dead bacteria. So it's a combination of bilirubin, cholesterol, dead bacteria, and heavy metals, toxins, all packed into this little, into bile, which actually helps to digest, calcium, all your minerals, and even your protein, but specifically your fat-soluble vitamins. And of course, it helps maintain the pH level of the body. So this is very important. And we make quite a bit of bile every day, anywhere from like half a liter up to 1 liter per day. So this is quite a bit of bile. So, bile is very important. And it's important to understand that, the gallbladder itself is not an organ, it's just a sac. So the problem of gallbladder congestion or gallbladder stones is really a liver condition per se. I mean, these stones and congestion are being made in the liver. That's why when you have liver failure or liver problems, then poor liver function, then, you can result in gallbladder stones. So what are the signs? Well, if anybody who's had gallstones in the past or known somebody with gallstones knows the signs and symptoms are pain, usually in the upper right quadrant of the body, or the back shoulder blades. But of course, if you press on the gallbladder area right in there, then, this can feel very tender and very painful. The liver would be down in here, but the gallbladder would be up there right under the rib cage. So often a person who's having, gallbladder attacks, if you press this area, you can feel the swollen gallbladder, and it's very sensitive to the touch and very painful. Other symptoms, of course, are feelings of nausea. You feel like vomiting when you have oily food, or you eat those French fries, you feel like, you're going to throw up, and you may feel a little pain. And then, of course, vomiting. This is more serious at this point. And then high fever. You can even get high fever. You can get yellow skin, yellow eyes, but these are in line with the liver is failing. And of course, when the bile kind of flushes out, maybe it was blocked and congested, and then you had some oily food, and then it flushes out and reaches the duodenum, then it can create diarrhea. And when the liver is not working well, not making enough bile, then you can have also signs in the stool, where the stool is clay-colored. Clay, it's losing its redness, which is coming from the bilirubin, the pigmentation. So it's light in color. So signs that you have gallbladder issues, usually early signs, are you don't like fried foods, you don't like oily foods, these are bothering you, you feel nauseated, and sometimes you're getting sharp pains, particularly when you have a T-bone steak at 10 o'clock at night with a glass of wine. So most of the time, these gallbladder attacks are happening in the evening, usually after a very fatty food, fried foods, and the most stereotype situation is somebody having a steak late at night, red meat. So as far as the diet goes, many people do radical things like stop all fat, but generally most meat should be stopped, all your red meat. It really depends on the severity of the condition. If you're in the early stages and you're just feeling a little tenderness, you probably can get away with still eating some white chicken meat and maybe some fish, particularly tilapia, a kind of a lighter fish over, say, a very oily, greasy fish like salmon. But if the and you could probably even have a little butter, a little ghee. Ghee would be safer than butter. But if it's already advanced, you're already getting attacks, which unfortunately that's the state most people come to me after they're getting multiple attacks, or they've been to the hospital and they did the ultrasound or the x-ray and they see the gallstones, and they want to cut it out, or they're talking about that, and then the people come to me usually at that stage. It's kind of late stage, still treatable, but obviously if you catch these conditions early, it's much easier because it's still an accumulative process for the liver to build up these stones and congestion. So you do want a high fiber diet, which is one of the best sources of high fiber is just legumes, beans, and you need protein anyway to survive. So basically we just eliminate almost all red meats, all heavy meats, all fried foods, even oily fish, and maybe even chicken as well if the people are already getting attacks, and then they can do lentils, mung dal, or some legume, because this is increasing the fiber. And also depend on, and mostly all dairy, cheese and dairy products would all be gone at this point. So we're just doing a little bit of oil. We generally recommend sunflower oil. You can see sunflower oil is very light. It's like water. So what you don't want to use is coconut oil. Coconut oil will make it worse and some often trigger the attack. Many people told me they didn't even have an attack, and then one day they decided to switch from their normal oil to coconut oil, and bam, that day they got the attack. So and then butter, cheese, steaks, meat, anything. Usually there's a trigger, but people feel that nausea, discomfort for some time. It can go on for months. These gallstones are not created in days. They're created in months and months. You don't see children, young children with gallbladder attacks. It's the rich foods, the eating out in restaurants where you have the saturated fats and fried foods that are so tasty, which usually get you in the end. So the diet definitely needs to be changed to a high fiber, low fat, easy to digest diet. And generally we recommend, if they're getting attacks, to just have smaller meals. Even if you're using sunflower oil, you don't want to have like a quarter cup of it in your fried food. You still would rather do like maybe 4 meals a day, a little smaller meal. So each meal has a little, maybe a teaspoon of the sunflower oil. So there's not too much fat in every meal, but you have to have some oil every day. Just like even a good car is burning off some oil. We're all using up fat to some degree. I've seen people who avoided fat for months and months. So they're basically just putting off the attack because stopping the fat doesn't really necessarily mean that you're not going to get, you've stopped the gallbladder stones. You're just probably not triggering them. And in fact, no fat could make it worse than a little fat, because part of the issue is a dryness. I failed to mention that. Dryness is another kind of cause that's necessary. So this person who gets the gallbladder attacks often has dry, hard stools and dryness even in their body, dry skin and such. And they could even be on a low-fat diet, and this dries out their system because the liver still needs fat. It's managing the fat in your body, and and all the fat-soluble vitamins. So you need some fat. So eliminating it altogether can actually make things worse. Being on a low-fat diet for too long can create more dryness, and then of course a past history of alcohol use would be another indicator of weak or poor liver. Of course, liver failure, cirrhosis of liver often can result in gallbladder issues as well. So, most of the herbs are, treating the liver, and because that's what you still need to treat. Most of these stones are residing within the liver, and they're just moving out to the gallbladder, or sometimes not even the gallbladder they're getting stuck. They're just getting stuck in the bile duct. And that's when you feel the pain when they move there, and then they get lodged in there, and the body's trying to push out, contract the gallbladder to push out the bile to digest the French fries and the steak that you just ate. And then it doesn't, it gets the stone or the sludge gets stuck in the bile duct, and then you feel excruciating pain. So we're going to talk about the treatment to dissolve these stones and improve the liver function to not make more stones in the future. But a few home remedies to help you. You know, one is to drink 1 or 2 teaspoons of castor oil with some lemon late at night. The lemon kind of helps emulsify the oil, and you shoot this down at night, and it has a kind of stone breaking laxative effect to it. And if you and then a heating pad or a hot water bottle right on it. Very, very effective once you're having an attack. And if you're having an attack, then other thing you can do is a salt water. Of course, if you have hypertension, high blood pressure, other health conditions where having that much salt would be counterindicated, you want to avoid having a half a teaspoon of salt. But you get a half teaspoon of salt, dissolve it in some warm water, and drink it. And this can give, and then put a hot water bottle on it. That's the home remedy. I'm not giving you medical advice here because, you know, gallbladder attack can be serious. Sometimes the gallbladder can rupture. So you have to be a little careful taking even the castor oil. But the hot pad is always very effective. Lying down, putting the heat on it can be very effective. And even the salt water can, it's also got a laxative, dissolving, breaking up type of quality to it, and relaxing all the muscles in the body, because you need to relax to like giving a birth, you know, you can't be tense, you know. So not like I've done it, but, you know, I had some baby, I was there during some birth. So, you have to always tell the woman to relax. So it's same with passing gallstones. You have to relax and just let it pass. And so anything to help the body and the muscles relax, even a hot bath, hot water bottle, all can give some temporary relief. And then following the diet, high fiber, sunflower oil, vegetarian diet until you've recovered. So now let's talk about the herbs, because the herbal treatment is really what's necessary to improve the liver function. There's no real medication that is capable of improving your liver function. Liver function only really can improve with herbal and dietary treatments. So there's many herbs that can help the liver, and there's even herbs that were made just for helping to dissolve these gallstones. Since it's, even in ancient times, I guess they ate too much fried food and had gallstone issues. But I want to mention before we go on to these herbal treatments, that there are many treatments for gallstones, and many people have, just Googled online and looked for treatments and found some herbs and were very successful. So it's not really a very difficult treatment. It can take a little time for the patient. And there are certain people who just keep making more stones, and they have to remain on the vegetarian diet longer and be more careful with their liver, and particularly if you've had, like liver failure or liver disease or fatty liver in the past. Usually, high cholesterol, fatty liver, these are can be precursors to gallstones. So often the client is overweight with the fatty liver and cholesterol, and all of these go together very well, and they all need to be treated simultaneously. Improve the liver, lose the weight, and this will, in the same diet to reduce gallstones, will reduce cholesterol. No fatty foods, no fried foods, sunflower oil, no hot spicy foods, because the liver doesn't like chili pepper and coffee, and using, of course, the sunflower oil, going vegetarian. This will help the person lose weight, lower cholesterol, and particularly with all these legumes and whole grains are high in fiber, and this will help to lower the lipid level in the blood, in the liver, and prevent future gallstones in the future, and lower your cholesterol and take care of fatty liver. So often they go together. Often it's the same type of individual, and the treatment is very similar. So let's talk about some common herbs here that help with it. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant to cover the other remedies. There are gallbladder flushes on the market, some more of a naturopathic method. There was one man, Andres Moritz, he wrote the book called Gallbladder Flush. And many people do this. I see it more as preventive. You know, I have done the gallbladder flush many times. I even did a workshop where, 10, 12 people in the class, we all, followed the diet, the instructions, and for a few days, then we, went home. And after 1 week of following the diet, everybody took the salt water and the olive oil and lemon in the morning and flushed out our stones. And many of the students brought the stones to the class, because it was a 2-part class. First part, we gave them all the instructions of what to do, and then came back a week later after everybody did it, and people brought the stones right in a jar. But not everybody produced stones. Some people had quite a bit, and they probably were preventing future gallbladder attacks. Other people, they didn't have much signs of stones, but it still, flushed out the gallbladder. But you have to realize that if you're already having attacks, following this gallbladder flush can be quite risky, because, as you know, if you've had gallbladder attacks, like some of my clients who are in this webinar now can attest to, that even a little fat can bring on a gallbladder attack. So once you're getting the gallbladder attack, this gallbladder flush is very dangerous, because you're literally taking tablespoons of, even some of these methods use up to 1/4 cup of olive oil with lemon in the early morning, and this can create immediate gallbladder attack. And I haven't heard of cases of gallbladder rupturing with people doing it, but that's why the medical doctors, they don't like to hear about this gallbladder flush, because of the possibility, and I think there are recorded cases. But so this approach that we're talking about today is really for somebody who's really already has gallbladder attacks, and we're not going to do a gallbladder flush and risk having an attack. So I wanted to make that clear. And ultimately, the gallbladder flush may clear out the gallstones by making the liver and the gallbladder contract and push out the stones, and then of course they come out in the upper small intestines, the duodenum, and then they come out with the bile, and they float on the top of the water. So that's how people pick them up and put them in a jar, wash them off, and they're little green stones. And you haven't fixed the cause. This is what's the problem with the gallbladder issue. You should identify the cause. Am I having too much fried foods? Do I have poor liver function? Do I have alcoholic liver? Am I eating too much red meat? Am I overweight? Is my cholesterol too high? These are the causes that we have to address and remove, or you're just going to make more stones again and have to keep doing the gallbladder flush every year, which I hear some people do. They'd rather have their fried foods and red meat and just keep going with the gallbladder flush. But this is not advised. We should prevent the causes. And if these are your causes, you'll need to prevent these for the rest of your life. And second, it's not improving liver function per se. It's a very quick and dirty flush. That's what it's called, gallbladder flush. And I would not do any of these treatments that I hear about, like coffee enemas. No, this is not appropriate. So we're talking very safe treatments here, herbal treatments that have been used for thousands of years, and using herbs that are literally called stone-breaking herbs. So let's go through both some Western herbs and some Indian herbs. Probably one of the best herbs is right here, milk thistle. So milk thistle, those are the whole seeds. We generally grind it up a little bit through a stone grinder, or just a quick little grind in a little hand blender, small blender, to break them up a little bit. And milk thistle, is often misunderstood. A lot of people consider it, the best herb for the liver. But in fact, it's more of a cleansing, flushing, and good for the gallbladder. I wouldn't say necessarily healing for the liver, but it's very important for gallstones and flushing out the liver. Probably the premier herb used in both Indian herbalism and Chinese herbalism and Western herbalism is dandelion root there, which of course has a very nice taste. You can see we're getting all organic herbs here. So dandelion has a very cooling quality and very healing for the liver. And combine that with burdock root. They go together. Also another cooling, liver purifying herb. And together they make an excellent product or tea, and that we call it liver tea. And that improves the bile flow, mostly by the milk thistle seed, and detoxifies and cleanses the liver. Now, of course, we put a few other little herbs in there to make it work even better. We've got a dandelion, burdock root, milk thistle seed, a little licorice root, which is like a catalyst, coriander, which is a cooling herb, and nice touch there, a little turmeric root, and cardamom, more for the flavor and somewhat of the anti-inflammatory, and it makes it more effective. We don't want to use ginger because ginger is too hot, and we're trying to not heat up the liver, but just cleanse it. And so that's a very effective tea, particularly if you don't have any serious conditions, and can help prevent gallbladder attacks. And of course, these are all roots and seeds, so it needs to be done in decoction form to be able to get the qualities of the herbs out, which means you have to boil it, until half the water's gone, strain it, and then drink it, because it's all roots and seeds. Now, traditionally in Ayurveda, they have herbal formulas and herbs that are for stones, and this is bhumyamalaki. You can see right there. Bhumyamalaki is a premier herb for gallbladder stones, and has a kind of herb breaking quality, and there's a lot of research has been done on it. It's used for hepatitis. It's been known to be very effective in reducing down regenerating liver function, and it's used in many countries, particularly in India, and particularly for liver failure. And of course, it clears away toxins, detoxifies the livers, and brings down, the SGOT and SGPT levels within just a few days of regular use. And even jaundice can be improved in just a week. And we generally see the bilirubin levels in the blood come down remarkably by this herb. So very, very effective herb. And that's one of the main herbs used in Ayurveda for gallstones. And it's, of course, used for all liver conditions as well. So here we have another herb, kukti. Kukti now is a very rare herb. It's gotten kind of expensive. It's apparently endangered. We try to get a one that's been grown and not harvested from the jungles where it's been over harvested, because it's maybe one of the possibly one of the best herbs for your liver. It's mostly used to correct metabolism. So we give it with fatty liver. It clears away extra fat and fatty deposits. It's very bitter, more bitter than bhumyamalaki, and it helps in the producing and the production of more bile, the excretion of the bile, and very effective gallbladder cleanser. If it's used regularly, that in itself, kukti could clear gallstones in weeks or months. But we use it oft for fatty liver, high cholesterol. It also helps in digestion, metabolism, and the breaking down of the liver. We also have it in a tablet form called arganovati. But let's look at a few more herbs here. This is a guggulu, and guggulu is a resin similar to frankincense resin, and that is also good for breaking down fat. It's cleansing. It's called a deep cleanser, and it's cleaning at a very deep level. Other herbs used are kalmeg. Kalmeg is called the king of bitters. It's very, very bitter, and we use it for fatty liver, hepatitis, and particularly for alcoholic liver diseases. So, and then there's other herbs that we use as well, including cosney. So let's take a look here at our formula here. This is our gallbladder formula. This is based on traditional Ayurvedic formulas. There we go. Dissolves gallstones and congestion. There's the first ingredient, bhumyamalaki. Second one I didn't really talk about, gokshura. Gokshura has just got this, it's like a diuretic that helps to get things moving. There's amlaki, bibataki, and haditaki. If you're familiar with Ayurveda, that's triphala. There's kukti. You don't need much kukti because it's so bitter. Punarava, which we didn't talk about, it's also a kind of pushing, cleansing, diuretic herb. There's guggulu. This is the guggulu is what I just mentioned, the resin. And chikrat, this is for your digestion. It's a very hot herb, heating air. And guduchi is anti-inflammatory. So it is this rounded out formula. It's just more effective than just using bhumyamalaki and kukti, which would be in the simplest sense. And we have another one here, and this is, we call it metabolism and liver detox. We generally provide it for gallstones as well. There it goes. Detoxifies liver, cleans the GI tract. You know, we also use it for skin, itching, acne, constipation. We use it for many things, but it's called Arganarvati, and it's got 12 herbs. And one of the main herbs is kukti. So that's usually the way it's taken. It also has some natural iron in it, why it's in such a small capsule, and that helps with anemia. And the liver does need some amount of iron, so it's very supportive of the iron. Now, so basically, if you had gallstones, we'd give you all three. The liver tea to drink during the day if you're having attacks, a couple of these with the meal, and then all these liver herbs and gallbladder herbs are taken generally before the meal to stimulate the meal, just like you would a bitter. You know, in the old days they had bitter. Now, if you're a depleted a person or vata type of prakriti or body type, thin, cold, light, dry, maybe very sensitive, we would maybe provide also like a liver formula that's not too bitter, that's good for vata. And these are, again, just like the gallbladder herbs taken before the meals. There's bringraj, it's going to be in all of these. Bhumyamalaki, kukti, and some other liver herbs. There's many herbs that can help improve liver function. These are just more gentle in this particular formula. And if you do have fatty liver, then we have this one here. This is more for people who are heavy, overweight, and you can see kukti is the first ingredient. A lot of them have the same ingredients, it's just different proportions. Like this one, kukti is first because so this is for a kapha person. This person has got obesity, heavy weight, high cholesterol, and maybe some gallbladder congestion. So kukti is first, then bhumyamalaki. When you understand these herbs very well, you can just change the portion of the herbs to adjust to the individual. If the person's very, very hot and there's a lot of body heat and inflammation, then we have one that's for pitta, liver herbs for pitta, and here's bhumyamalaki first, shankpushpi, which is also a more cooling liver herb, and kukti is still in there. Manjistha, good for the skin, liver. Bringraj, kalmeg, a little turmeric, and coriander. So this is like a sweet, cooling liver formula. So we have many liver formulas, and we even have some that are combined with digestion and liver combined, liver and digest. So using these, the right one for the individual is very, very important, which one you use. And then all those liver herbs are generally taken before the meals. And then sometimes there's another digestive formula that's given after the meals. And then often at night, we give some colon herbs, or at least castor oil at night. We use haditaki And Enron Haritaki has, Enron means castor oil. So it's Haritaki, which is already a laxative and very cleansing and detoxifying for the whole colon and whole GI tract. And it's cooked in castor oil. So it's very perfect for this situation, Enron Haritaki. And we use it in many of our colon herbs for constipation. Because when the bile does excrete and come out through the gallbladder or the bile duct into the duodenum, the small intestines, well, where's it going to go? I mean, it has to come out through the large intestines and the colon and mix in with fecal matter, which was why the fecal matter becomes dark brownish in color, because of the red nature of the bile. And so that's why when we have low bile, the stool becomes light in color or grayish in color. We can tell there's bile's not coming out. So there's liver problems and congestion. So you have to keep the bowels moving quite well during this type of treatment. So we supply some type of colon herb that's, keeping the bowels moving, keeping it moving. So you're going 2, 3, maybe even 4 times a day, just so this bile cannot accumulate and reabsorb back into the bloodstream through the mucosa and the tissue in the intestinal lining and get back in the bloodstream, because it's toxic at this point. There's many toxins in our bile. I mean, that's the purpose of the bile. One of its purposes is to package up these toxins and get them out through the body, besides helping to digest your fat and your protein and your carbohydrates. So it's really amazing bile. And of course, if you do have your gallbladder removed, then you still got the bile duct directly connected to the liver, and then you just don't have the sac. So then you can get this dripping bile in the upper intestines, which makes you give nausea and vomiting feelings. And these people, they tend to have to eat crackers or chips and things to just keep absorbing this bile so they don't feel sick. So, that can be an issue. And then you can have many little inconvenient digestive problems for the rest of your life once you don't have a gallbladder. If you want better details on what the symptoms are and difficulties are of having gallbladder, you can just talk to people who have no gallbladder. Some have very few symptoms, while others have other major inconvenience. But it's affecting their digestion, and it's very inconvenient really for the rest of your life. So doing a type of herbal treatment to dissolve these stones is well worth it, because you're saving your gallbladder. And in fact, I try to do 1 jar of liver herbs every year. I do a couple bags of liver tea every year, even though I don't have major liver issues. It is very preventive. So I hope that helped you to understand the importance of maintaining your liver function, not abusing it with alcohol, coffee, and fried foods, fatty foods, fast foods, to avoid gallbladder congestion later in life. And I hope you understand that it's very treatable if you take these herbs, follow this diet, and keep the bowels moving. You should be moving. They should be going 2, 3 times a day. 1 time a day is still congestion, unless you're just eating 1 meal a day. Then it would be fine. I mean, if you're having 3 meals a day, you should go 3 times a day. But if you're in one of these cleanses, so where you're cleansing out the gallbladder and you're trying to increase the bile output and push out these stones, I mean, you should be going 3, even 4 times a day to just keep the bowels moving and keep the downward movement. Some of these colon herbs not only are, stimulating the colon and cleansing the colon, they have a certain effect on the gallbladder too, to help things keep moving. Because you don't want upward movement, then you can feel the sense of, if the bile moves the other direction, then you're going to feel nauseated and feel like vomiting and throwing up. So constipation and gallbladder blockage can be very inconvenient. And this is the type of people that end up rushing to the hospital because they're vomiting and nauseated, because not only are the gallbladders congested, their colon's congested. And even what bile does come out doesn't move quickly enough, and can move back up this small intestines a little bit and give this feeling of nausea and wanting to throw up. So it's a very straightforward treatment. Sometimes it can take time. Sometimes it can take just a few weeks. Sometimes it takes months. But most people are doing, multiple jars. I mean, most people are doing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 jars with the gallbladder formula, 2, 3, 4, 10 bags of the liver tea, and following the diet for a few months. And then even after that, they have to, be careful. I've had clients who completely recovered, felt fantastic, were very happy, gave me testimonials, and then 1-2 years later, they had a gallbladder attack again. And it's usually just because they relaxed, went back to having hamburgers and fried foods and eating a burger at midnight, and then they got the attack again. So, some people can easily start to accumulate more sludge and congestion in the gallbladder, particularly, like if I said, if they had any liver issues in the past. So you will still have to be careful, and you still may have to take, could drink a cup of dandelion tea for the rest of your life would probably help, and a vegetarian diet, you probably wouldn't accumulate them. Vegetarians very rarely get gallbladder attacks. I think I've met one, but I think there was a drinking history behind it, so the liver wasn't working well. But these type of cholesterol-based stones are very rare if you're just eating beans and for your whole life as your main source of protein, and with some healthy oils. Then it's very rare to get them if you're a vegetarian using healthy oils. If you're a meat eater and eating fast food and you're overweight, then this would be the category person that would be most likely to have a gallbladder attack. So once again, I hope that helped you out. I hope that motivated you to keep your liver healthy, keep your bile moving, and avoid a gallbladder attack, and realize that if you do start to have the symptoms, that it's not difficult to treat. And you do want to not put it off until you have an attack and it becomes a medical emergency, in which case they may just remove your gallbladder sometimes very quickly to relieve the pain that you have. So once again, thank you very much, and feel free to contact me if you have any questions.